Hi everyone, welcome back to the IT and Psychology YouTube channel. Today we are going to be continuing with our chapter 6 of Psychology 12th grade, that is Psychological Disorders. In the previous lecture, we had learned more about mental wellness and mental disorders and the various classifications given to us by the WHO and the DSM for mental disorders, like the DSM manual, Diagnostic and Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders, and furthermore, you'll find the link for that video in the description below. And we have completed the first 5 chapters of psychology and the first 4 chapters of IT that include the detailed explanation and thorough exercise solutions discussion. In individual videos, you'll find the links for the playlist in the description. And we have also solved various SOPs and completed the SOPs for chapter 1, and we are about to complete the SOPs for our chapter 3, that is advanced JavaScript. And for psychology, a few notes will be published on handwritten notes that will be published on Saturday or Sunday, either of these days. The chapters will be for the chapter 4, chapter 5 and chapter 6. You'll be receiving this, again I'll repeat it, on Saturday or Sunday. They might not be as thorough, but they are handwritten notes that you'll need to acquire at some point. So I would still suggest that you guys write your own notes, as there are some aspects of these explanations that are self-explanatory, and I'll just read through that and not explain those parts. But parts that thoroughly need to be explained will be explained on this channel. So you can go down to the description and you'll find a link for a Telegram group for doubts. So the topics that will be taught in this video or the topics that have been taught in the previous videos can be discussed, and the doubts for those topics can be discussed on that group. We are going to be 100 subscribers strong on our Telegram group, and we'll grow from there. And here we'll be crossing 500 subscribers by next month as estimated. So thank you for your support. So let's begin without further ado. So unit 6.6, major psychological disorders. So we start with the first subunit for our unit 6.6, that is 6.6.1, anxiety disorders. So we'll read the example given here first, and this is what explains us what this whole subtopic is about. One day, Hima was driving back home from her office. Suddenly, she felt heartbeats were increasing. She felt breathless and was perspiring profusely. She felt so scared that she stopped the car and got out of it immediately. This continued for many days, and the frequency of such experiences kept on increasing. Due to this, she started getting scared of driving in heavy traffic. If she was driving in heavy traffic, she felt as if she would die. As a result, she completely stopped driving. After a period of time, she even stopped stepping out of the house. Frequently, she started getting crying spells. She was diagnosed as suffering from anxiety disorder. So, this was the example. We'll read the furthermore explanation given below. So, now we'll learn what anxiety is. The word anxiety is derived from the Latin word anxietus, which means uneasy or a troubled mind. So note this down as anxietus as your troubled or an uneasy mind, as this might be asked to you in your fill in the blanks. So the definition for this is when a person feels nervous or worried about without any obvious reason for a long time, such that it starts interfering with the daily life, it is called anxiety disorder. You would see your acquaintances, for example, any of your acquaintances, if he or she is getting nervous all the time or is worried in minuscule things or even major things, If it is for a limited time, then it is okay. We'll learn the criteria of how an anxiety disorder takes over further in the unit A. And so this slowly takes over and becomes a really large chunk of your life and starts interfering with your daily routines, causes troubles, makes your obstacles higher, and makes you very nervous around the things you are mostly used to. There are many subvarieties of anxiety disorders, but we will study two major anxiety disorders, namely generalized anxiety disorder and phobia. So there are two parters here, the generalized anxiety disorder and phobic disorder. We all feel tense in our daily life due to various reasons. For example, during exams, while speaking in public, etc. It is sometimes beneficial to experience mild tension while shouldering responsibilities or while facing a difficult situation. It compels us to face difficulty in a systematic and planned manner. But instead of mild or moderate tension, if it becomes too intense, it starts interfering with our daily routine as well as our work performance. We start feeling tense or nervous without any reason. We start avoiding people and are unable to perform daily routines. So, as this paragraph says, that an individual, if he or she is facing normal tension or something he or she is used to, like your study pressure, your portion completing pressure, and etc. So you're used to that. But if goes to scales where it affects your behavior, where you're showing bad attitude, or you start ignoring people, you start becoming aggressive by nature, and you feel tense and nervous around anything and everything without any reason. So this is what is the root cause or how anxiety disorders can be detected if they reach a scale where it is just unbearable by an individual. To diagnose an individual suffering from the disorder, symptoms should be present at least 4 weeks for children and for 6 months for adults. So as I said, there is a specific criteria for the time period for anxiety disorders. So it is really easy to diagnose. So you can detect it quickly among your colleagues or yourself, for example. So 4 weeks for a child and 6 months for an adult. Due to extreme nervousness, his or his capacity to solve problems may break down. Of course, as we have already seen, there is just one criterion to be fulfilled for diagnosis of any disorder. So consultation of the expert is essential. So any psychologist or psychiatric expert would be helpful, or his or her suggestions or advice would be much preferred than taking any conclusions. So now we'll move on to the symptoms that an individual should be aware of when he or she suspects anxiety disorders among them or their colleagues or acquaintances. So the first one is extreme fear of the unknown. So getting tensed or nervous without any reason, increased heartbeats, irritability, frequent headaches, frequent worry, lack of sleep, sensation of vomiting, uneasiness, breathlessness, blackouts, etc. are the various symptoms of anxiety disorder. So these are the symptoms. You just need to memorize these. These might be asked in your answer in brief. So next we move on to our part B of our anxiety disorders, that are phobic disorders. So we'll read the example of an individual who has a phobia of. Okay, so Ninand, sorry, Ninad went for his college picnic from the top of a hill. When he looked down, he felt an unexplained fear. Few days later, when he went to his uncle's house and looked down from the 15th floor, he experienced the same fear. Thereafter, he noticed that the same fear whenever he looked down from a certain height. He realized that this fear is not normal. These are symptoms of acrophobia. So, acrophobia is the phobia for heights, or a specific height for individuals. Varies from person to person. The word phobia is derived from Phobos, the name of a Greek god of fear. We all are afraid of something or the other, and we normally are able to overcome it with little effort. But even when something or some situations are either less dangerous or not dangerous at all, if an individual is intensely afraid of it, and that creates problems in adjustments in daily life, then this fear is called a phobia. For example, heights, water, darkness, cockroach, dog, being alone, blood, crowd, elevators, etc. Elevators like you're in a confined space. The individual then tries to avoid it at any cost. If it starts interfering with his or her daily life and creates adjustment problems for more than 6 months, then it is called a phobia. In short, phobia is an intense, irritational fear of some objects in or situations. There are various subtypes of phobias like specific phobia, social phobia, agoraphobia, etc. So, for example, I have the phobia of dogs. I'm scared of dogs since birth. So, that is a phobia for me. So, there are individuals who are scared of water, individuals like Ninad, as we saw, afraid of heights. So, that's a phobia for heights. So, these are either less dangerous or not dangerous at all. So, water is the phobia of water is very dangerous. If an individual will not keep himself or herself hydrated, it might lead to many problems, health problems, which could cause, which would aggravate in the future. So these were phobias, or how a phobia develops and what is the definition for phobia and where it was derived from. That is Phobos, the name of a Greek god of fear, and then we move forward to our next one. So hope you have understood until here. So if any doubts, you can find the group link for Telegram, and that will be there, and the doubts will be clear. So then we move forward to our next disorder. Before that, I'll just put some light over the activities that have been given. So activity 5, collect information about disorders and daily disorders and discuss them with your friends or family. So you know what to do, discuss this with your, first get information from your friends and parents, then relay this information with your faculty and get an accurate answer to this. Same as for your collect information about other types of phobia that are different phobia, arachnophobia, your claustrophobia, and etc. And the determination of if it is a specific phobia, social phobia, or etc. So then we move forward to our unit 6.6.2, subunit 6.6.2, depressive disorders. So we have an example here as well for an individual by the name of Vinita. Vinita is 35 years old, working lady, having 2 children. Except for earlier few years of marriage, she had disturbed marriage life due to constant quarrels over small issues with her husband. This resulted into a divorce for which she was totally unprepared. As a result, became very disappointed and lost all hope. She started feeling lonely, frustrated, stressed, and started blaming herself for the divorce. The stress of financial crisis and the children's education led to disturbances of sleep. She also started experiencing frequent health complaints. She was feeling sad all the time. These were symptoms of depressive disorders. So, this example shows how an individual going through divorce, having two offsprings, is blaming herself due to some issues between her spouse, and how she is going through difficult situations, and she blames herself, whereas it was both of them. So we'll dissect this topic and we'll understand what has been given. So in the total population, 5 to 6% of people suffer from mild depression due to some negative incidences or some other external factor that individual the individual may experience negative feelings, but if it continues for a very long time, then it is called depressive disorder. So again, this is also a criteria for depressive disorders. So if it is for an elongated period of time, then it becomes a disorder. So depression moves from mild depression. After some time, if it is still there in an individual, it aggravates to a much aggressive, what do you call it, disorder, that is depressive disorder. Feelings of hopelessness, anxiety, and sadness are the major feelings experienced in this disorder. The disorder in which the individual experiences extreme feelings of sadness as well as guilt for at least 2 weeks is called depressive disorder. So, as we have understood here, that again, mild depression moves forward after 2 weeks becomes depressive disorder. So now we have the criteria as well. So the least is 2 weeks and above for an individual to fall into depressive disorder. So this was our explanation for depressive disorder. Then we move forward to the symptoms that come after an individual enters the depressive disorder stage. Feeling of hopelessness, lack of enthusiasm, weight loss, lack of interest in food, and loss of appetite, either lack of sleep or excessive sleep, constant feeling of fatigue, sad feeling, excessive feeling of guilt towards some matter, sexual dysfunction, suicidal thoughts, inability to concentrate, indecisiveness, etc., are found in the individual suffering from depressive disorder. So these were the symptoms. These were we asked you for name on these symptoms that an individual shows during depressive disorders. So this was our depressive disorder unit, subunit 6.6.2. Then we move forward to our next subunit, that is subunit 6.6.3, bipolar disorder. This is also called manic depressive disorder. In this disorder, the individual experiences alternate phases of extreme sadness, hopelessness, stresses at one time, and extreme happiness, enthusiasm, and elation at other times. In the same individual, you can see these opposite conditions one after the other. That's why it's called manic depressive disorder, because both of these situations where an individual is either take two A and B. A is sad, hopeless, and stressed all the time, and he or she is at her or his extreme stage of sadness, hopelessness, or stress. D, whereas, is very happy, very enthusiastic, and has a level of elation at all the times. So combine A and B. That is what a bipolar disorder is. So he or she is sad, hopeless, and stressed at one time, and extreme happy, enthusiastic, and elated in the second half. So the, both of these happen at the same time. That's why it is called a manic depressive disorder. A more aggressive form of this depressive disorder. Symptoms of these are: the individual experiences alternate phases of two states, one in which the individual is extremely happy, excited, and elated, and in the other, he experiences sad, stressed, losing hopes, thinks unrealistically, gets irritated, gets irritable, or aggressive. Genetic factors, imbalance in neurotransmitters in the brain, mainly norepinephrine, serotonin, and dopamine, are found to be the main causative factors. So the symptoms here have to be rectified as well. So this was our bipolar disorder. This is actually an easy disorder to understand. So we move forward to our next subunit, unit 6.6.4, trauma and stress related disorders. When an individual is not able to cope up with the existing situation, he tends to experience stress and tension. Daily problems encountered due to fast-paced life, relationship issues, loneliness, lack of proper adjustment, lack of enough personal space, time constraints, consumerism, frustration due to non-fulfillment of desires, addiction, prolonged physical illness, constant feeling of uncertainty, family problems, cutthroat competition, etc. are positive factors for stress. So here we learned what are the main or root cause for stress. This is an array of what you guys can expect if you have stress. So this was stress. Stress or tension is inevitable in life. If it is in moderate intensity, it appears to be useful by providing motivation to the individual. But if the individual experiences intense stress, then his or her capacity to deal with it gets imbalanced. For example, war condition, serious accident, death of a loved one, natural disasters, divorce, sexual abuse, breakup in relationships, etc. are conditions that can create deep impact on family or the life of an individual that may even be responsible for illness like stress disorder. Out of many types of stress, let us study two types of stress disorders. The first part, that is acute stress disorder. The second is PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. So I hope you guys have understood this trauma and stress related disorders. So what are the root causes of trauma and stress or tension, and what causes stress disorders and individual issues that are brought up into an individual's life. So then we start with our part A of unit subunit 6.6.4, that is acute stress disorder. We have been given an example here of an individual by the name of Vinesh. 39 years old Vinesh is a working man and was staying with his wife and two children. One night, while returning from work, he was surrounded by a few gangsters. He was beaten ruthlessly. They snatched away all his belongings and threatened to kill him. He started begging for his life. They tied him to an electric pole, tortured him physically, and left. After a long time, somehow Dinesh managed to rescue himself and went to the police station. 3 days later, he started getting nightmares. He started getting illusions and was extremely scared most of the time. Started getting flashbacks of the incidents again and again. Could not sleep well, and this felt extremely frustrating. Not only that, but he could not concentrate on work. He was diagnosed as suffering from acute stress disorder. So this was an example how even such incidents can put a very large impact on an individual, a grown man's life. So we move forward to the explanation given to us for the acute stress disorder. If an individual with age of 6 years or greater has experienced or witnessed extreme situations like death of a loved one, serious physical injury, natural disasters, sex abuse like sexual abuse like rape, etc., he or she experiences extreme fear, emotional numbness, severe confusion, gets dreams of the incident, or gets uncontrollable thoughts about it, not able to concentrate, not able to sleep, experiences severe guilt about the event, and holds himself responsible and goes into depression. He or she becomes irritable. His or her emotional world becomes unstable. His or her, sorry, he or she prefers to stay alone. Does not take any help of others. Up to 3 days after the traumatic experience, such reactions are not diagnostic or diagnosed as stress disorders, as they are considered as normal reactions to extremely painful incidents. But if the situation lasts for more than 3 days up to 4 weeks and persists beyond that period, then it is called acute stress disorder. So now we know what causes stress disorders, how a stress disorder can affect an individual from ranging from the age of 6 to etc. and how up to 3 days, if it affects an individual and does not affect him or her after 3 days, then it is normal. If it lasts for more than up to 3 days till 4 weeks, then it is fatal for the individual. So this was acute stress disorder. And then we move forward to our part B of our subunit 6.6.4, that is PTSD, post traumatic stress disorder. You have just learned the symptom of acute stress disorder. If these symptoms continue for more than 1 month with the same intensity, that is without much improvement, the individual is diagnosed as suffering from post traumatic stress disorder. In the example, if Vinesh continues to experience acute stress beyond 1 month, he would be diagnosed as suffering from post traumatic stress disorder. An individual who has suffered trauma normally goes through 3 stages. As given to us, the first stage is shock stage, second stage is suggestible stage, third stage is the recovery stage. So firstly, we'll understand what the shock stage is. The individual in this stage is extremely disturbed and is not able to think anything. He is in shock. So as you guys can see, that the individual is not able to rehabilitate himself or herself out of the situation. You can see how Vinesh is thoroughly affected by what had happened to the few dancers. So he's currently in the shock stage. Then we move on to a second stage, suggestible stage. In this stage, the individual tries to find out how to get out of these circumstances by asking others or seeks guidance. In this stage, the individual gets extra sensitive towards suggestions given by others to the extent that he may accept any suggestion without thinking over its consequences. So here, an individual seeks help or seeks guidance on how to help himself go out of the situation, what is happening with himself, how can he cure what he is going through. Then we move forward to a third stage, that is the recovery stage. Though the individual is still under stress, but has started regaining his mental balance. He or she is trying to get out of the situation and shows signs of recovery. However, some individuals still cannot maintain their mental balance and start showing signs of mental illness, post traumatic stress disorder. So, this was our unit 6.6.4, and we'll just go through the activity given here. We make use of various activities to reduce our stress. Speak to 5 of your friends and make a list of at least 10 different strategies used by them to reduce stress. Share it with your group and discuss which are healthy and which are unhealthy. So this is a very good activity. Discuss this with your friends. Thoroughly seek guidance from your elders and mark your way into success over such disorders. So this was for all for this lecture. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. We are very close to our goal of 500 subscribers. So if you have any doubts, again I'll say, please contact me on Telegram. You can DM me or you can publicly send the doubt over the group. And this was it. If you want to support the channel, you can follow me on Patreon via the link given in the description. And other chapters, playlists are available in the description. You can check them out as well. So, thanks for watching. Stay safe, be healthy, and take care.